So you're from Turkey, like your parents are from Turkey, or
Cyprus.
From Cyprus? Okay.
Yeah, north of Cyprus. Yeah.
The Turkish part of Cyprus, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So maybe for the listeners who don't know, there is Cyprus has two sides: has a Greek side and has a Turkish side. And there is some political complication, but we don't go very deep into this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Welcome everyone to the first episode of the Need for Deen podcast. Inshallah, our content will be beneficial for you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Atay, I'm really happy that you're here with us today, and we want to find out your journey of life. Let's call it journey of life. The beginning, where you from, and then we're gonna work ourselves little by little. So what was it like, little Atay, back then in Australia?
Yeah. So firstly, Salam, thanks for having me, and super excited to be on the podcast, and I guess one of the first guests. Yeah, that's a really great question to start. I think the journey for little Atay, if we start there. So I was born in Australia, raised in Australia. Very Australian. If you don't see my face, most people think I'm a normal white Australian. So exactly, I have the same accent. You can't pick it. And honestly, journey later in life of having moved around the world and different countries, people, when they see me, they're surprised. They're like, where are you from? Where is that accent? But growing up for me, I grew up in a country Victorian town. So anyone who knows Australia, it's the bottom right-hand corner when you look at the map. Very close to Melbourne, but an hour and a half north of Melbourne, in a very small town. So our population of our town was like 900 people.
Okay, wow.
That's predominantly small. Yeah, man. Predominantly white Australian.
Okay.
So we were the only people of color, we'll call it. There was our family and one other family of a young Greek boy who we all went to the same primary school. But growing up was easy and tough. I think we held our own in terms of what we needed to do in our schools and sort of being Turkish kids in a very white Australian population. But also there was still that underbelly of like white Australia. Not that Australia is a racist place. It's actually a very safe place to be. But, there's still, we were still outsiders. Even though we were first generation born and raised in Australia, we were still first generation. However, we looked different.
Sure.
So that was probably the tough part for little Atay, sort of growing up there and there. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just. So you're from Turkey, like your parents are from Turkey, or
Cyprus.
From Cyprus. Okay.
Yeah, north of Cyprus. Yeah.
The Turkish part of Cyprus, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So maybe for the listeners who don't know, there is Cyprus has two sides: has a Greek side and has a Turkish side. And there is some political complication, but we don't go very deep into this. Anyway, the fact is that these are two countries. And you're from there. So really, it's funny. I have a friend, actually. The whole family is from Cyprus, from the Turkish side. I will tell you about this as well. It's very interesting, because I it's the first time that I met Turks from Cyprus, and you're actually the second one. So
there's not many of us. We're few and small. There's not many. But if you normally look for the shorter Turkish population, that's probably where the Cypriot Turks sit. Okay, we're not sort of the 6 foot plus Turks. We're the 5 foot 11, 5 foot 10 Turks. Yeah.
Okay, understand.
Yeah.
So I mean, life. How is life in Cyprus, and why is how the decision to Australia? Because it's so far. It's like there is other places. There is the Middle East. There is Europe. There is the States.
Yeah, I think in the 70s there was like, and again, I'm sort of speculating, but from the stories I've heard from my parents. One, there was the war, so there was migration out of necessity. But two was the fact that the Australian. So we had one great uncle who's now passed away, but he was the first sort of the pioneer in the family, and he moved here, and he sort of told the rest of the family, like, hey, Australia's a great place. I'm here now. You know, we have an anchor here. You guys should all come. And people followed. It was bizarrely, we have quite a large first sort of member family base here in Australia and in Melbourne and the surrounds. And yeah, it's interesting. Like, my parents moved here. They were typical, like, immigrant blue collar workers working in factories and doing what they had to do to sort of put a base down for us, for the kids. So we were born, and the expectation was then you will be the children that will go to school and you will study and you will go to university. So I see you smiling. I'm assuming it was probably the same for you in Germany.
Sure.
Yeah. So they laid the base, and like many migrants who migrate anywhere around the world, it's an interesting sort of story to learn. But yeah, we ended up in Australia, I think, because Australia had a very open policy. And I think they were paying some money for Turks, particularly, to move over here way back when. There was like some payment that was made, and I don't know. It's before my time. I'm probably a little bit too young.
It's just interesting, you know, because you know, and like 60s, 70s was very early times, and we don't really. There was not a lot of communication. I mean, like open communication. Obviously, everything is recorded, but we don't know really how this all happened, and there was a lot of immigration going on. It was pretty easy for everyone, and now we're second. I don't know, your first generation, obviously, and now we go into the second with our children. But a question for Cyprus: how was the Islam there in general? I mean, because it's Turkey, so obviously there is we have Islam there. Call of prayer. The ruling, everything is very, very open, or how does it work? I mean, from what you know.
And I mean, honestly, I think if I can compare it to anything, and having lived myself also in Dubai, and you're in Dubai as well, the way in which things become a little bit more moderate when you Westernize is how I would describe religion in Cyprus.
Okay.
So although there's some people who are quite on the very religious side, there are some which are less religious in Cyprus. And I feel like Cyprus is similar to what I observed in Dubai, with a lot of expat communities and a lot of amalgamation of people. Like, Cyprus is the same sort of place. It's a place where traditionally and through history, a lot of different cultures land. Through whatever reason, right? So much like what Dubai is experiencing right now, it's a very similar place to that. And when I lived in Dubai, I had a very similar feeling when I was there. I'm like, actually, this is very similar to something I know. And only because you asked this question, I'm able to stitch this together now. So I would say it's very similar. I think it's less religious than Dubai, to be honest. But I think the people are still deeply rooted in their religion. I think the older generation much more so than the newer generation. But I think there is still definitely the teachings of Islam are in the school. Everything is Islam for the Turkish side. So, you know, it is there. But on the Greek side, obviously, then you have the Orthodox religion. So
sure. It's
again, through these two things, you see both levels, right? So you can be on one side, drive across the border 45 minutes, and then you're in this whole other same country, same landmass, but whole other country. Because you're stamping your border, and then you go through, and you're going from a Muslim side to a non-Muslim side.
Europe, you go from Europe into another continent,
into Turkey. Turkey is the only place that recognizes North Cyprus as a country.
So understand.
That's the only place that recognizes us as a country. So the Greek side is recognized through the EU, obviously.
Okay. So it's actually North Cyprus is a country. Actually, it's not. It's not Turkey, like Turkey.
No, it's not Turkey. It's its own state. Yeah, it's its own state. I mean, I
didn't know about that. You know, I didn't know.
We have our own elections. We have our own.
Understand. It's kind of it's kind of Malta, Gibraltar. It's kind of overseas territory, like something similar, but still own state. Okay, very interesting to know.
It's cool.
I didn't. Okay. No, because I asked it because I have been recently to Turkey, like I think like 4 months ago.
Nice.
And it was very a very good feeling, because they had. I was reminded of the actual Muslim word, because what we get fed in television is different. Not television. I mean, I want to watch television, but media. Let's say media on the internet is different than what we see. And I had the impression that Turkey was a little bit going out of their Islamic way. But when I was there,
no,
it's not at all the fact, because we have been at there was the World E-Conference. I don't know if you heard about this one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, definitely. It's very World E-Conference Forum. And really, it was so amazing, because on Friday I was saying I was in the middle of meetings and everything, and then suddenly I go up and I see they do the preparations for the Friday prayer within the facilities. I was like, wow,
unreal,
subhanallah, that's amazing, So it begins and they shut everything down, and they sit, and even they had the imam coming. And I was so surprised, and I was so happy, I didn't have to drive half an hour. So this is, it was really the call to prayer. Every 5 minutes you have a mosque. So I walk and there's prayer. I jump inside somewhere, It's the same as in any other Muslim country. Even I would even say sometimes more adapted, to the lifestyle you have to live. So because people have busy lifestyle. So it's very easy for them to just stop somewhere and pray and continue. So amazing experience. Just leaving this for now. Back to Australia, because I know you have never lived. I think you have never lived in Cyprus, right?
I spent a lot of time there. No, I haven't lived there like formally, but I've spent quite a bit of time there. Yeah, between when I was living. Like I've lived in Germany, I've lived in Dubai. So I did a lot of travel back and forth to Cyprus. Okay. It's kind of like a base, not a base.
Okay, amazing. Yeah. So moving back to early years in Australia, the 900 people community, when you went to school, and how did it feel? I mean, did you feel anything different? Was there anything that separated you from others, and how was your religion at this time? I mean, when you moved on 12, 13, how was it going?
So I think for me, it's actually, that's a really great question again, because it was non-existent initially. So for us, growing up in where we grew up, there was no mosques, there was no religion in terms of our religion being taught in mainstream schools and things like that. So there came a point, and honestly, like, I think I've told my parents this, but again, I'll tell my parents this through the eyes of the world now, is they did an amazing job. Yeah. Like, my parents, thank God, they went out of their way, and we had no religious teachings at all, and I think we were about 8 or 9, maybe 10 years old. And they met some doctors, an Iraqi doctor and his wife, in Bendigo, which is, from where we lived, a half an hour drive, which was where my parents worked, and that's a whole other story. But on the way, they met this doctor, and this doctor said, hey, like, if your kids are interested in learning, we can teach them religion. So we would finish school at 3:30 each couple of days. I think it was like a Tuesday and a Thursday maybe, or a Monday and a Wednesday, something like this. We would finish school, my parents would pack us up, and we would drive to this doctor's house with his wife, and they would literally, we would get there, and obviously we would eat together and talk together, and they taught us Islam through their own eyes. Right? So they were able to sort of sit down, and they would create like little worksheets for us that were fun to color in, and complete the sentences, and taught us all the prayers and things like this. It was probably the best way I could have learned Islam and found Islam back then. As a child, when they gamify anything, and not to say that religion should be gamified, but when it is gamified as a child, you understand things better. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, no, it's a different approach. That's what I wanted to say, because
it's a totally different approach. Yeah, totally different approach, but it worked for us. It gave us the foundations, the fundamentals, and then, at the end of it, it wasn't just you must be wholeheartedly religious. It was you choose.
Exactly.
You choose your destiny. Do not like let us influence you in the way that you want to be influenced, or you think you should be influenced. You choose the path that you want to walk with this religion. Yeah, but this is our religion. So, you know, fundamentally, hats off to my parents. You know, huge congratulations go out to them, and you know, the effort they had to go to just to find this doctor, get them to commit weekly and 2 times a week for their time to give to teach us, to help, you know, learn our religion. Amazing. You know, I could not have asked for anything better.
Alhamdulillah. Really, I'm happy to hear that. You know, it's not easy. I'm 100% sure, because, you know, from what I've seen and what I've lived, and how it's about the same thing, because you need to you know, you need to understand you are in an environment where the kids are completely cut off. You know, like your parents work. You know, you are actually living the life of everyone else in the country, you know, so you don't have a community. You're, you know, back then Germany there was a lot of immigrants, you know, that's a bit different, but it depends on areas. They were like, you know, it's like areas. And I guess like in Australia was the same. There is like big areas where it's hubs, and there's other areas where it's a lot less.
Correct.
So you need
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. You need to find your way through, you know, and I think how you describe it is very, very interesting, because now, I mean, you still live the life over there now, obviously with a different mindset, but I live only in Muslim countries. So I'm not anymore making my way to any other country, only if I have to for business or anything like that. But you know, Alhamdulillah, everything is nice like this. You know, I'm really happy. It's a blessing that we can live like that. You know, because I deeply wished this a long time ago already, and I made it happen, and I would not trade it for everything, for anything, even sometimes, you know, when I'm traveling. But you know, I'm always happy to go back into the Muslim world, you know, let's call it this way, because like I said, I'm living in quite different places. One of them, Dubai, for example, as well.
I think for me it becomes a struggle, because we live in a Christian place.
Yes, sure.
So for me now, as a parent, you know, learning what I learned from my parents, and then trying to teach something similar to my child, and inshallah my second child, who's on the way now too.
Inshallah. Wow. Congrats.
Thank you. But yeah, like it's tough, man. It's tough over here. I think if we stayed in Dubai, things may have been very easy and easier to follow religion and prescribe to religion, because it's a Muslim country. And much to your point, right? You only live in Muslim countries because it just makes practicing your faith easier.
Yes.
Here definitely. It's much more difficult, because there is no call to prayer. Like, you walk around Australia, you don't hear call to prayer.
So even in the big cities, even in the big cities, they don't do it.
There's not a mosque on every corner. You know, it's tough. It's a tougher place to be, right? But again, your religion holds you.
Definitely. This is and I think like you said, you know, if you found yourself and you are aware that it's tough for the children and everything, I think it's a very good step that you try to work against it. Because what I'm saying is, you know, school, for example, it's the first place where kids actually get their first impressions of life. And my advice to everyone is to take their kids and homeschool them, you know. Homeschooling, not in the form of you sit there with them and you do it, like a real structured form of homeschooling, which is similar of a price of a private school, actually. But this way, you have actually the education of your kids in your hands, and you can follow them up at home, and they don't have this influence. I mean, you can never like eliminate influence from people from outside. You know, you cannot. It's impossible. But you can pave the way better, and they don't have to go through what I went through when I went to school, for example. No, that is So
yeah, I agree with you to a point, and I also disagree to a point as well. I guess if it's a healthy debate, and
oh yeah,
you know,
100%.
myself, I went to a public white school.
Me as well, same.
I think it's all, yeah, and I think it's also part of what makes us us, right? Is that it makes you stronger to a point as well. It makes you think about things. So I think if you can control your children in to the point of like, hey, I can actually affect them and help them, and it's a positive environment, which you're saying it is for you, right? That's wonderful. I'm also a firm believer in sort of the school of hard knocks. So I think that, you know, sending your child
100%.
to a public school to learn how it is, right? Because that's life. That's what your life's going to be eventually. Eventually, we have to let them out. We have to let them go out into the big wide world. And learning that lesson, I think, earlier in life for me was a big lesson. I don't know about yourself, Omar,
Sure,
but
for
for
me,
me, it
same.
was a
Yeah.
big lesson, right?
Too
And I
much,
feel
actually.
like if I, yeah, as well, man. But like, I feel like letting my child out early to learn these lessons is a good lesson to learn as well, because it ultimately will form them into the person that they will be. So if they've got a good heart, they're tied to their God. You know, they're very hardworking people, and they have the right morals in place. I don't think the outside world can affect them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's my view on it. That's my view on it. But again, I think it's there's always different views, right?
Sure,
Everyone's
there
entitled
is
to have their view.
definitely, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, what I do as well is that they get actually this feeling what you describe. I take them to sports, for example, you know, and let them be there so they have a, you know, like team sports or combat sports, you know, so they get a little bit taste of life, and it can be pretty rough sometimes, you know.
Which is amazing. Yeah, that's. I mean, we're talking about that now with my daughter. She's into dance, and she's also into. She's like, Dad, I know you play football. Can I play football too? I'm like, of course you can. Like, if you want some football boots, let's go get some and play. I'd love nothing more. Let's do it together. We'll go, because we have a football ground literally across the road from where we live now.
Okay.
So I'm like, let's go play. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think, yeah, sports and organized sports, team sports, it's a wonderful way to do that.
It is. It's definitely. I really enjoy it as well to see them grow and you know, to do this together with them. This is the beauty of it as well. I mean, this is as well how we, Alhamdulillah, how we work. You know, you yourself as well, myself. You know, we're blessed. We can work from wherever we want, and we can see our children grow. We can, you know, take care of things which you cannot take care of if you work 12 hours in an office. You know, like and maybe even sleep there, or you know what I mean. It's
This is the thing, like work-life balance has to come. But what are we doing all of this for, right? What do we do all of this for?
Exactly, and this is actually
for me.
Exactly. We do it for the family, you know. This is and then we come to motivation as well. What is actually your motivation or all of this, you know?
Yeah. Like, I mean, like you can work, I work, you work. I think we work abnormally weird hours as well. It's not like we're doing 9 to 5. We work when we need to work, right?
Exactly.
And I honestly, I think, you know, every time I get to a point in my life, if it's not my faith that I'm thinking with, and it's just me caught in a moment, and I'm like, what am I doing this for? Again, what am I doing this for? And it's always my heart. It always goes to my family, my child, my wife, my child on the way, my parents, you know, my extended family. So, you know, if that's there, the rest is easy. I can work 100 hours a week. You know, 100 hours a day. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. So I mean, we talk a lot, you know, and it's really amazing to have this conversation with you, Atay. When we move on, like in your 20s, you know, what does it look like? I mean, at what point actually do you move or you decide to move to Dubai, for example, or spend more time outside of Australia than before?
I was always I'm a middle child. So the second of three children. So I have an older sister and a younger brother. But I was always the child that was sort of pushing the boundary. Always the one that wanted to do more. Always the one that didn't want to just be content with doing what I was doing. And that was always throughout my life. And I got to my 20s, and it's funny you said the 20s, because that was exactly when it happened, about 24. 24 when I moved out of home, because in the place I grew up, there was no opportunity. It's literally, there's one big bank that you can work for.
Banking is horrible.
I didn't want to do that. My family, being, immigrant family, worked their way through. We got a small business, believe it or not, Turkish making kebabs in a very country town.
Oh, amazing.
But I didn't want to do that either. I didn't want to do that either, bro. Like, it was like, I did it for a while. I enjoyed it. It was fun. But I said to my parents, I need more. Like, I finished my university. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I'm going to Melbourne. And Melbourne's like an hour and a half away. And I still remember the day I drove off with my mum crying in the background in my rear vision mirror of my car. My dad standing there. And it was tough. It was a tough place to go. But like, that was the first move. And that was sort of the first sort of, okay, I'm grown up enough now. I can do what I need to do as a man. And then I got the travel bug. I was just like, I need to travel. I need to see the world. And for me, there's one thing. We have one life. Yeah. Inshallah, we have 80 years maybe, inshallah, if we're lucky. Yeah. I want to see as much of this beautiful world while I'm here. Yeah. Yes. And experience it with whoever's with me, my family, my friends, whoever it is that wants to see it with me. But I want to see it. That was always the one mantra, the one thing I had in my head always. So, I moved to Europe, fine. I moved back from Europe. Then we had this opportunity in Dubai to move just before. So Melbourne was one of the most lockdown cities in the world. Actually, the most lockdown city in the world.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
stuff happened. Yeah. We escaped it just before that big lockdown. And I said to my wife, there's this opportunity. What do you want to do? And she said, let's do it. So not only was I blessed in terms of having the opportunity to go to Dubai, I only said I would do it with my family. I was never going to go alone. There was no way I was going to leave my family and go with, not knowing what was happening in the world at that time. I said, let's go. So we moved. And there was no other reason than I'm a risk taker. I want to live my life, because the day I'm gone, I want to know that I lived. Yeah, I want to know that I experienced what I needed to experience, and I saw it, and I experienced it with my family, with my love. Definitely. And that's it. That's it, bro. That's it. There's no more bigger driver than that for me.
Definitely. I agree with that. To leave the legacy and to, to make something, to change something in this world, to make something good, And I think we have given this opportunity with our voice and with our time as well, because, it's not that we have more time than anybody else as entrepreneurs. I think it's that we have more time to think, we have more time to think. And this is more dangerous and more justifying in front of Allah than working like 10 hours straight and coming back to the office and going home and take care of the family. We have time to think. And this is a very dangerous tool. And if you use it wisely, it will guide you good. And if you don't use it at all, it will destroy you, because you will think back when you don't have that time anymore. Yeah. And we'll say, oh no, why did I do this? Why did I do this? So
what's funny, man, though, like I think, everything I do, I think with here, and I'm like, okay, first with my God and with my family. And the one thing that guides me in everything that I do is just be a good person.
Yeah.
Nothing else. It's literally, if I do this, am I being a good person or am I not being a good person?
Exactly.
And I think if more people think like this, the world would be a much nicer place.
It's true. It's true. I mean, yeah. You can see this everywhere. There is, for example, I'm just saying now in Dubai, Dubai, Saudi, we have very harsh laws. Mm-hmm. They are applicable for everyone. So, but I think as well, in general, people are not going over crossing the line. Like, for example, in Europe, I don't know about Australia. I have no idea about, I've met a few people, but I cannot tell a lot about the culture. But I can talk about Europe. I can talk about other countries. They're crossing the lines, and crossing the lines is much easier for them with their heart to cross than, for example, in Dubai or in Saudi, you know, the majority. I don't talk about everyone. I talk about majority of people, because you can literally, you have been in Dubai, you can leave your computer, go to the toilet, you can forget your bag, it will be there 1 hour later. It's you know, nobody will touch anything. You know, a woman can walk at 4 o'clock in the morning with nobody will even talk to her. It's a very, very, very safe and good environment. So this is something I'm really looking up to, you know, and this is super important for a human being.
This is the one thing that we loved about Dubai, was, you know, one of the biggest things that we loved about Dubai, I should say, not the only thing I loved about Dubai, but like my wife and daughter were home most of the day. I was working quite a lot in Dubai, just with the whole work-life balance thing over there, but they could be at home when I got home. Sometimes they were not home when I got home, and I never worried. I never thought, oh my God, are they okay? Are they alive? Is something happening to them? We're here. They can't do that. It doesn't happen here. You know, you can't be outside at 4 a.m. in the morning. There is dangerous things outside, unfortunately, and the line is not the line here.
Sure.
But yeah.
I mean, my point for this was that I'm not saying about good or bad, you know, the intention of people and how you live your life is very important, you know, and people needs to have boundaries, you know, that's as well important, because some people need them, some people don't need them. They naturally don't like it. But if they know, okay, if I do this, then this happened, and this is fatal for me, people will refrain from it. You know, in Europe, the laws, like when we were 15 years old, there are no laws, you know, you can do whatever you like. It's
similar, yeah.
You know, and I don't know about Australia, but like I said, in Europe similar. Or, you know, in the States, I think there is kind of a, how can I say, the education must be very low in some places. So people just do it anyway. And, you know, they have so high penalties that they find themselves dying in prison. So it's another extreme. But if you have a wake mind, if the government did a good job to educate you, you know, and you know what you do, what you don't do, and then you still do it, then, you know, there is a problem for you. So after Dubai, you decided to go back to Melbourne, or do you live now very near your parents?
No, we're back in Melbourne. So we're still an hour and a half away from my parents. Still, you know, trying to balance time and effort to go to their house regularly so we can see each other and all these things. But we're back in Melbourne. I have lived, as I said, in different parts of the world, seen many different parts of the world. I don't know what it is about this city that pulls me back. I think it's comfort now. Sure. But I always get pulled back here. I always get pulled back to Melbourne for some reason.
It's you know, it's kind of your home, you know, if it's where your parents are. I mean, it doesn't mean necessarily that it's like, you know, that it's your home forever, but it's something holding you there. And you know, if you it's always the thing, if somebody is happy and the time is there that you say, okay, it's good for my family for now, and we're good here. You know, there is I think there's no reason like to force to go somewhere else, because it's obviously, you know yourself, going somewhere else is very risky. You know, I like risk. You know, I like risk a lot, so I cannot stay sitting and don't have risk, especially when people have children, they're tending not to take risks anymore, you know, so, or less risk, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but more calculated risk, less risk. But I think that's why I like you, man. I think that's why, you know, if anyone is listening to this, they may think we've known each other for tens of years maybe, or we've known each other for a long time. You know, no one would really know that this is our second phone call.
Exactly.
Ever. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think there's a
Definitely.
like for like there somewhere. Yeah.
Definitely. I really like to talk to you, and
Likewise.
I think we should do something like a second part at some point. That would be amazing, because I'm quite sure, inshallah, that this is not the last business journey. Maybe even hijrah to another country, to a Muslim country. Yeah. It's not the last thing that we've heard of you in terms of development. I'm quite sure about that. You seem very young. So
young at heart, man. I think you're being very kind now. I'm young at heart, but I think we're probably. I might even be older than you. I think, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but perhaps I'm not sure. But I'm guessing.
Okay.
But definitely, man. Like, if you want to do call this one part 1 of 2, let's do it.
Okay.
Inshallah, we can revamp and revisit and go deeper. But let's see what the viewers say.
Exactly. Inshallah will be good. And I will get back to you with this one.
Sounds good.
Great, definitely. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
being a guest.
Thanks, bro.